Texas Senate. I'm going to pull the curtain back for you and tell you some tales, what my experience with things that happened to me that you're never going to hear from anybody else. These things so you can understand why our Republican legislation doesn't pass, or conservative legislation. Then I'm going to tell you why I'm running and why I'm going to win. But on April the 18th of this year, 21, there's a 28-year-old lady went to church with her husband and their 11-month-old baby. The church was still scared of the virus, so they were meeting in the gymnasium, and they had the chairs set 8 feet apart, and they sat in the far back right-hand corner so not to bother anybody. And then they took their mask off. She took her mask off. And the priest, he comes by and he says, "You need to put that back on." She said, "I'm not going to do that because you see I'm pregnant with number 2. And I've got morning sickness. I'm not feeling good." So they go up front and they get communion. They come back down and they're kneeling in front of the chair. She's got her eyes closed and praying. And she feels this heavy hand on her neck, pulling on her. She turned around and looked up. There's 3 Dallas policemen standing above her. 3 Dallas policemen. They're telling her she's going to jail for trespassing because she wouldn't put her mask on in church. Well, her husband, he's a calm fella, and he pulled his phone out and he started videoing it. He talked them into taking it outside, and they did. They wrote her up out there, and they took a picture of their license plate of their car and told them that they ever drove that car back, they'd be arrested for trespassing again at a church that they've been going to on and off for 20 years. Well, the video did go viral. Over 1 million Americans saw that because nobody can imagine that happening, more or less happening in Texas. But it did. And that 28-year-old's my daughter. Dear. She just had that baby 4 days ago, little boy. So we're going. Thank you. But that is what's happened, indicative of what's happened to Texas. Can you imagine how much liberty we have lost in the last 18 months? I blame that on Greg Abbott. He's an enabler. He's enabled the socialists and the Marxists that have been trying to take over our government for years, decades and decades. They've taken over our seminaries, our schools, our media, and now they're empowered to make a political statement out of an illness. And you know what an enabler is? They're just as guilty as those that do the deeds. If you drive the getaway car and you go rob a bank, guess what? You can get the death penalty in Texas, just like the guys going inside. Well, I am a 5th-generation Texan. I was born in Dallas. I grew up in the Metroplex. I'm a God-fearing patriot. Like I said earlier, I'm a conservative activist all my life. I went to the University of Texas. I graduated there in 1981. I've had my real estate business since 1985. It's been very good to me. I do run that with my twin brother Philip. So if you see me, I don't say hello. It might not be me. It's like a hit. And he was county chair of Dallas County in a couple of years, and he'll talk about what a thankless job that is. But I've been, best thing that ever happened to me is, where's she at? There she is right over there. Mary Catherine, 34 years, my beautiful person. We had 5 children, 4 boys and a girl. We homeschooled them to the school and career to make sure they would grow up in a good conservative Christian environment, and they did. They're all successful. We're grandparents now 4 times over in 18 months. And it's a family affair on the campaign. We're having a lot of fun with it. They act as servants for me around the state. My political bio started when I was 17. I remember it happening very clearly. I realized there was more to life than what most people were thinking about. My parents were not that political. And there was something always burning inside me that I think's probably burning in you. All of it. And I call it the flame of liberty. It just wouldn't go out. Sometimes it burns really bright and you just can't stand it. I'll go over that in a minute. But it's not the scorecards that the votes you take. It's who's fighting to get the stuff to the floor to make them accountable. That's where you need to pay attention. Well, anyway, also, as he mentioned, that political corruption scandal I uncovered, it was disgustingly easy to find. It didn't take any work. It's on my property tax bill, and I'm looking at the bottom of the property tax bill. They were taxing, this government agency was taxing everybody in Dallas County, this small tax. And I just looked and said, what in the world do these folks do? And I dug into it and I uncovered a nest of cockroaches. A 100-year-old organization had 3,000 employees, $110 million annual budget. They couldn't answer any of the financial questions. And so I got the Texas Rangers involved and the FBI. We got them involved. We got 6 people put in prison, including the city mayor pro tem of the city council of Dallas, is serving 7 years in prison. Thank you. I'm also, according to the Secretary of the Senate, the only elected office holder in the history of the state of Texas that never took any money from the government, from the state. No pay, no pension, no health care, no travel vouchers, no reimbursements, no nothing. I didn't even use their office furniture, as I said earlier. Yeah, it was really ugly, it really was. But I'm going to do the same thing as your governor. I'm never going to take any money from the state of Texas. But I got this bill done to close down that agency. They don't exist anymore in Dallas County. And it was really difficult. Let me tell you why. Right after inauguration in 2015, the leadership calls for a meeting of the Senate and the caucus as a whole. There's only 31 of us. We represent more than congressional districts. And the 20 Republicans, 11 Democrats. We're not there. They wanted a meeting of the caucus as a whole, so we all go in there. And then they all start talking about how lucky you are. They keep saying, you're so lucky. You're a member of the most exclusive club in the state of Texas. There's less than 150 of you still alive as Texas senators. And he said, that's counting everybody in here. You're just so fortunate to be in this club. And your loyalty always lies with your fellow club members. You will do nothing to hold them accountable, they said. You will do nothing to embarrass the Texas Senate. You're so lucky to be here. They go off on that for about 5 minutes or more. I'm just sitting there thinking, I wonder if I'm the only guy in here who's wondering why they call legislators members. You know, they do that in Washington too. They're members. They're the member. Believe me, they know exactly what they're doing. They are the elitist. They are the club members. Their loyalty always lies with their fellow club members. And they will drill that in those people's heads all day, every day. You have your own special lunchroom. You got your own deal. Nobody can come down here. You're just so special. Nobody can go look at all these rules and decorum and all that stuff. How many bills came to the floor in the Texas Senate when I was there and did not pass? 0. 0. Every bill that comes to the floor of the Senate is going to pass. It's all a hustle. It's all for show. We know what the votes are. But anyway, the next week I go to my very first Republican Senate caucus meeting. I need to speed this up, I'm sorry. I got so many stories on break. You need to know. I go to my first Republican Senate caucus meeting. We meet at a restaurant, all 20 senators. They probably still do, there's 18 of them left. And I take in there my favorite document, second favorite document. This is one of the reasons I ran for the Texas Senate. This is our Republican Party platform. It clearly spells out who we are as Texas Republicans. Have y'all ever been to a state convention? Who's been to a state convention? A few of them. Great. You need to go. If you haven't, you need to go. And you can Google this up. This is voted on by tens of thousands of Texas Republicans. You can read it. That's all our platform in here. What we want is legislative priorities. Well, I take it in there and I say, gentlemen, it's like he said. I said, there's one thing we need to get done. And ladies, one thing we need to get done this session, I'd like to get done. This is my first one. I'm nervous and anxious. And I say, let's get constitutional carry done. I said, you know, this isn't 2A. It's not about shooting a burglar or killing a deer. Those are all bonus points. I said, this is about the backstop against tyranny. This is our natural right. This is our God-given right. And I explained that to him. I could see some blank looks. And I also explained on the platform. I could see some more blank looks. I said, let's get it to the floor. The most important thing is let's get this to the floor so you can see where everybody can see where you stand on this issue. Let's just take the vote and be accountable to the voters that sent us here. And you know what I heard after I said that? Nothing. Silence. Silence. Then this fork. I hit a plate and it's in on a church bell. It was so loud. Gradually, 1, 2, 3, 4 or more senators got up from the table in the middle of the meal and left the room. I just left. Well, the rest of the night was, you know, pretty awkward for me. And the next morning, I get a messenger from the caucus. He says, hey, Senator Huffines, you need to apologize to the Republican Senate caucus meeting for what you said last night. I said, what did I say? And he said, you specifically said you're going to hold fellow Republican senators accountable to the voters. And I said, I sure did, and I damn sure not apologizing. I tell you this because you need to understand this. That most, but not all, certainly not all your Republican elected office holders, but most of them, they don't like you. They really don't. They make fun of you. I've heard them belittling you, just like they did me. I was cussed at and screamed at on the floor of that Texas Senate by Republicans more than I've ever been in my adult life. All because I wanted them to take the vote that they didn't want to take. I'll tell you that maybe I'm being a little hard on them. They don't like you because you might hold them accountable, but they do like being accountable. They love to be accountable to the money, to their fellow club members, to the lobbies. But who I kid you not, who they talked about in our caucus meetings, more than any other group, the Democrats. How are we going to make the Democrats happy, they would say. What do the Democrats think? What are we going to do to keep them happy? And they would bring it up on and on. They brag about there's only 25 partisan bills every session in this chamber out of 1,500 or so. All they care about is making the Democrats happy. That's not all they care about, but that's what they talk about a lot. Have you ever seen this in Greg Abbott's hand, our party platform? And you never mentioned it either. You never will. We control it. The Republicans control everything in Austin, the House, the Senate, the governor's office for 20 years. 20 years. Patriots, I want, if you get one takeaway from my talk tonight, I want it to be this. With the proper leadership, the governor of Texas can get almost any bill done he wants, any time he wants. He's the governor of Texas. He's the leader of the Republican Party of Texas. I've seen it. I can give you many examples, but we're not going to be here that long. But let me tell you. We get 2 or 3 of our top 10 priorities done every session. 15, 17, 19, 21. Why haven't been in office? Do you know why that's all we get done? 2 out of 10? I got Democrats that believe 2 out of 10 of these issues. They're Democrats. Because Greg Abbott doesn't want this to be law. If he wanted it to be law, it would be law. We got 300 planks in this document. We don't do this for fun. We do this because we want, this is what Republicans want to be law. Well, the catalyst for me to run happened in March of 20. We all know what happened. I put a tweet out warning everybody what was going to happen. And Greg Abbott shredded our Constitution. He swore an allegiance to uphold and defend. He shredded it. And one day, he unilaterally on his own put 3 million Texans out of work. Yep. He listened to that lying piece of crap Fauci in New York. Yep. Because he's a know-it-all. He's an elitist. That's how they think. 3 million Texans. That's more jobs than we created in the last 12 years combined in this state. Tens of thousands of businesses were gone. Most forever. Did he ask anybody how many sacrifices you made in that business or that job? How many vacations you postponed? How many generations you've been doing it? Didn't care. It was all over. He just did it. I never would have tried to do that. Of course. I'm the one that led the Open Texas rallies around the state. I'm the one that put that op-ed in the newspapers around the state, begging Abbott to open it back up, telling him he didn't have the authority to do that. And then you know what he did? He closed our churches. He closed our churches on the holiest season of the year, Easter 20. You couldn't properly bury your dad. You couldn't get baptized. You couldn't get married. Where was the outcry when you couldn't visit the sick if they died? Where was the outcry when you couldn't visit the elderly? Where was the outcry when your parents had to die alone or your children? So him, he puts in that. I've never taken the vaccine, and I never will. Look, I'm all for medical freedom. I'm here for your personal liberty. If you want to take it 50 times, get after it. If you want to walk around in a spacesuit, that's your ability. You do whatever you want to do. Get after it. But you're not going to require our children to wear a mask. And you're not going to shut down our schools, and you're not going to make anybody else wear a mask, a face diaper. You want to wear it? Get after it. And let me tell you another thing. Anyway, I'll go on this. But Patriots, I don't think I'm any different than you. As a Republican primary voters, and as Texans, we're tired of the lies. We're tired of the broken and empty promises. Is the border secure? No. Are your property taxes going down or going away? No. Do you have confidence that your votes aren't being stolen? No. I can go all the way down the list. Term limits, education freedom, stopping the general mutilation of our children. I mean, we can go on and on, all the priorities that we're missing. That we've been trying to get done literally for decades in the state of Texas. I've got a comprehensive, good plan to secure that border. And you can ask me in Q&A, I'll tell you right now, because it's my #1 agenda. The first thing you need to know about my plan is I'm never asking permission from the federal government to secure the Texas border. I'm going to finish Trump wall. My plan's been up on my website since May the 11th, since I put it all up there. Of course, Abbott pasted and copied most of it on his about 6 weeks later. But that's okay. Flattery is important. We're trying to set Texas. But he did. His constant, then he changed the language. That was interesting. But I'm finishing Trump's wall. I'm going to call it the Texas wall. We're building it for hundreds of miles. I'm going to spend about $4 billion on that. I'm a business guy. And that's a good trade. A trade in the sense that it's minor compared to what we spend on illegal immigration every year. The most significant thing I'm going to do, guys, is right here in this document. Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution. It clearly gives states the authority to do whatever they need to do when they're being invaded. Article 4, Section 4 requires the federal government to secure the border. Article 1, Section 10 clearly gives states to do what they need to do. You got to think about this real clearly. Nobody would have signed this document if it wasn't in there. Because if South Carolina was being invaded by the French and the federal government never came to their aid, of course South Carolina's got the authority to charge a tax, solicit an army from anywhere and anyhow they can, basically do whatever they needed to do to defend themselves from the invasion. So that's what I'm using. I was on the committee and also for border security when I was in the Senate. I've been to the border 3 times since May. Border Patrol's telling me right now, about 1.5 million to 2 million illegals are going to come into Texas in a 12-month period, unapprehended. Right now, since 3 weeks ago, they've called illegals from 147 different countries since January 1st. Any way you define it, this is an invasion. It's clearly an invasion. All of them are smuggled in by the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world, the Mexican cartels. These are the most violent people. They're really evil incarnate. They really are. And if you haven't seen the videos, you should see them. Sex trafficking, human trafficking, murder, rape, it's all of it. Paying off politicians. There's a trial going down in Dallas right now. They're testifying against each other. I'll just take it real quick because I told some people earlier, one fellow's testifying that after he killed over 300 people, he quit counting. I mean, these people are so violent. Dallas and Houston are the #1 sex trafficking cities in the nation. And so, we got to stop it. I'm engaging the entire Texas military. You probably saw me say this on Tucker. I was on Tucker about 2 weeks ago, laying it all out. We're using all National Guard, all 20,000 of our National Guard. That's not enough. I think the fellas from Oklahoma and Louisiana will help out. We're going to secure that river. We're immediately going to deport anybody that gets across that river. I'm not just worried about immigration law. This is an invasion. I don't have to pay any attention to that. We're the commander-in-chief. The governor is. We'll immediately deport them back to the other side. There's 25 crossings over that river. I'm stopping all inbound commercial traffic from Mexico. This is strategic. This is to make sure Mexico feels the economic pain of what they're doing. Until they secure their side of the river, very little of their commercial traffic is going to come into Texas. We do over $250 billion worth of trade in Mexico annually. There's 10,000 trucks lined up just in Laredo trying to get across that bridge every day, approximately. They're not going to do it. I love Mexico. And I love Mexicans. I've put all my homeschooled kids in Mexican public school for a year so they can learn the culture and the language. They're being a really bad neighbor. And they're going to secure their side of the river and they're not getting anything in the state of Texas. I'm not going to tell you they're going to need us more than we need them. And yes, I know it's going to be painful for Texas too. I get it. But curing cancer hurts also. Chemotherapy is not any fun. I'm going to get done in 30 days what no one's ever done because let me tell you, the federal government is never going to secure the border. The federal government never has secured the border. Trump couldn't get it done. And we had the trifecta in Washington. To what end? He never got it done. He tried. He was working on it. We still had tens of thousands coming across. The only chance we have of securing that border is with the courageous governor of Texas. And that's what I'm going to get done. I've got a great plan to phase out property taxes over 8 years. It's a priority of the Republican Party. It's in our party platform and has been on and off for years. This is very doable, very achievable. It's going to take about 8 years to put it on a glide path to zero. We're going to keep local governments fully funded. We're going to ensure you never have an income tax, and you're going to get to vote on my plan. It's going to be a constitutional amendment, so you can weigh in on it. I've got a great plan to secure your elections. We've got a lot of election laws. I'm calling for a forensic audit, of course. I've called on that for a long time. We know everybody cheats in elections. I'll go over my plan, but the key to it is I'm starting a new law enforcement division. It's called Government Corruption Election Integrity Division, and that's all they're going to be focused on. They're going to focus on all the election laws, and then we set up a new court system and a new deep prosecution system to make sure we can convict people for cheating. Well, Patriots, I've got just a different way to see things and get things done. And I'm a business guy. I'm not looking for a new career. I'm doing this job because the job's not getting done. My opponent, 30-year career politician, Greg Abbott, 30 years is the definition of a career politician. I don't think he's ever signed a paycheck in his life. While he's been on the government payroll, I've been creating thousands of jobs. I'm not worried about the political ramifications of what I'm doing. I'm here to solve the problems that affect Texas. And we've got the solutions, and I've got the courage to implement those solutions. Unlike my opponent. My campaign is about leadership. Leadership and no excuses. Do you know what an excuse is? Look it up. The third definition is it's the skin of a lie. That's what it is. It's about lying. There's going to be no more excuses. Or not. I need your help, though. I need your help to help me light the lighthouse of liberty up, so we can blind those socialists from New York City to San Francisco to that swamp in Austin. Help me prove, not just the United States, what it means to be sovereign. We're going to prove it to the world what it means for Texas to be sovereign. Patriots, there's no cavalry coming over the hill. There's no cavalry coming to our rescue. We've lost more liberty in the last 20 months than you can even imagine. They've taken our churches, our businesses. There's nothing left. They're forcibly sticking potential poison in you. Where do you think this is going in the next 3 years? It was done to us, essentially by a Republican governor of Texas. Unimaginable. Texas is supposed to be the tip of the spear. And the Huffines administration, it will be. I'm going to buck up every Republican governor in this country. I'm going to give them courage. I'm going to give them cover. Grab your old rusted swords of liberty and help me cut the chains of government. Help me awaken the sheep from their slumber. Awaken them so they too can help us restore the liberties that have been stolen from us. Awaken them to the power of the Constitution, the power of an individual, the power of the free market and of capitalism. Awaken them to the power of Lord Jesus himself. Patriots, this is the time we've been waiting for. It used to be Texas meant something. The word Texas could have been used as a verb. It meant something. Under Huffines administration, we're going to get our swagger back. Our greatest days are coming. God bless you, and God bless Texas.
Q&A. So if you have a question, let me know. I'll bring the mic to you.
Thank you so much for coming to Corpus Christi. We recently lost an officer in the line of duty, and so we wondered what your stance is on back to the blue.
The question's backing the blue. I've always backed the blue. I stand with the police, of course. We lost 5 officers in 16, in Dallas, and I certainly did everything I could to make that memorable. We passed resolutions in the Senate and a lot of things to help raise money for the families. Look, I'm all with the police. I do a ride around with them. I go to the barbecues with them, the crawdad cook-offs, and they've got a very tough job. It really is. It's a very difficult job. And if in Dallas, Texas, it's extremely difficult. It's a big city and they're understaffed. And if you haven't done a ride around on a weekend for the second shift, you should, because it is eye-opening. It really is. It's just phenomenal what they have to deal with. Of course, I'm back in the blue, and unfortunately for them, that there's a lot of mayors and city managers that don't like it. So, but I'm going to make sure I do it.
Mr. Don Huffines, I'm a big supporter of you, okay? Let you know that. I just want to let everybody know what you stand for in here. I read your letter. It's parental equality. I'm going to read your letter out loud just so everybody knows where I'm coming from. Because it meant a lot to me. As a parent, as a father. It says, "Dear Americans for Parental Equality, thank you for your tireless efforts to ensure Texas children have the brightest futures and to ensure both parents take an active role in their child's life." Correct. Practicing Texas families is a top priority of mine, and part of that is ensuring our laws default to equal shared parenting. My wife, Mary Catherine, and I raised 5 children, and I know neither of us could have done so without each other. As governor, I will always fight to put Texas families, parents, and children first, ensuring Texas kids have the greatest opportunity for success and have access to both parents will be one of my emergency items I will task the Texas legislature with addressing in the first 60 days. Again, thank you for your outspoken advocacy on the issue and your determination to fight for the best interest of Texas parents and children for Texas. Don Huffines. Now, that's good. I like that because right now the system is, and I like the approach that you took. Parental equality. You know, you're not targeting gender or anything like that. And the system right now it's to a certain extent to where it's not really to the best interest of the child. It's more just about money. You know? And can you tell us about that? How you're going to take that approach and that you're serious about it? What it means to you?
Well, really the letter speaks for itself. If it could be an emergency item, the only thing the legislature can work on the first 60 days is what the governor says it can work on. And for me to put that on the policy, it really will be. But there's nothing more important than having equal parenting. Children need both parents. They both bring so much to the table, and they need it. And it's simple as that. I'm a big believer in family, traditional family, and it's the foundation of our health. It's the foundation of our education. It's the foundation of our faith. And we're not going to do everything I can to support it.
And children need both parents in their life. You know, at least a father did.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Let's emphasize it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quick reminder, we're going to try to get your questions quick so everyone gets a chance to ask.
We're in the corner over there.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming to Corpus Christi. We just got an email today that one of our doctors in Houston is losing her hospital privileges, not only for herself because she's unvaccinated, but also her patients that are unvaccinated. I would like to know a little bit about your plan for protecting natural immunity.
Well, this is a tragedy. It really is. I was out 2 weeks ago helping the Southwest Airlines team members protest. The week before I was at Raytheon helping them protest because I really believe this is terrible. Actually, our team was going to Lockheed and then Deirdre had her baby, so I couldn't go. But I'll do everything I can to empower the governor. to stop it. We got Abbott. I do think Abbott's responding to our campaign across the board. And Carney is for sure. That's his consultant. You know, when I came out, we were adamant and we were clear that we would never have let anyone forcibly have to take a vaccine, including businesses or governments. He was against that. Abbott was for making sure businesses could force these people to take a vaccine. Then he pivoted after about 2 or 3 months, and he pivoted because he saw much traction we were getting on it. He doesn't really believe anything, right? He's never had a primary opponent in 30 years, and so it's hard for him. He's never been accountable to the Republican Party primary voters, so he doesn't really know what he stands for. But I'm adamant. No one's ever going to do it. And I'll tell you, this is a big difference. When I say something I'm going to do it, I'm never going to make an executive order or a threat or an edict unless I know exactly how I can follow up. If I say that the businesses aren't going to do that, you can rest assured they're not going to do it. I'll know exactly what I'm going to do if I'm going to say that about anything. The school district says you got to wear a mask. I say no, you don't. Believe me, they're not going to wear a mask because I'm not going to make that decision unless I know exactly. It's going to be extremely painful for whoever doesn't listen to it. So the power's always in the purse. Let me do say this. I'll give you this. I'll just try to make the answers quicker. I'm sorry, but it's important, I think, for everyone to realize the power of the governor. Everything's really downstream of the governor's office, and I say that with meaning, our virtues, our legislation. It's who we are. It's with the governor's office. The governor is the last call on every single piece of legislation that comes out of the state capitol. I get last call on everything except constitutional amendments. That's incredible leverage. You're going to see me wield the governor's office like it's never been done. It's never been done or anyone alive how I'm going to use it. And also the governor gets first call on the budget. We set the budget. The governor's office with the speaker and lieutenant governor before session ever starts. Then when session's over, and the 181 people get their call. I get called. The governor gets to decide what in that budget he wants and doesn't want to keep. He gets line out. If it's in the line, the governor can line it all out or none of it out. And let me tell you what the club members want. I know them well. But they wanted more than anything is to pass a bill. That's how they move up in the food chain. That's what they come down there to do. That's how they're in the cool club. That's how they get to be a committee chair, is how many bills are going to get passed. Can somebody please pass my bill? It's hard to pass a piece of legislation. You only meet every other year. They really want this stuff done. Well, guess what? It ain't getting done until my stuff gets done. It's simple as that. We're never going to have a Democrat Party chair in the House again as long as I'm governor. This isn't that complicated. If you've got leadership and you've got the skills and leadership, right? Because my campaign's leadership, no excuses. You can get anything. The governor can get the bills done he wants. And the other power of the governor, let me just point out, is the power of appointments. The governor of Texas makes thousands and thousands of appointments. Thousands. So you said the medical board, they're looking their license. Guess who appoints a lot of the medical board? Of course the governor does. The pharmacy board, the insurance commission, the real estate commission, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and I can go on and on, all the agencies you've never heard of. And some that you have heard of. The two most important, education, which is most of where we spend most of our money. Health and Human Services, those two represent 75% of our budget. And they're run by huge bureaucracy. Socialists are running the Austin swamp. They are socialists. I just put out the video Thursday. Thursday, you need to see what the whistleblower brought us. So I released the video on Thursday. This is the Department of Family and Protective Services. 13,000 Texans work there. To be onboarded in that institution, that agency, you have to have a 29-page dissertation on critical race theory. And you have to take a test that you read. You have to take an oral test. You have to watch videos on critical race theory. This is the most Marxist thing you've ever read. It's worse than what they're teaching them in the schools. And this is, every single person has to get this done. And now it's in the Dallas Morning News, blah, blah, blah. This is all under Abbott's watch. Just 30 days ago, well, 60 days ago now, I got the Department of Family Protective Services to remove a website that they had. And they're in charge of foster care. And they were promoting transgenderism and just every type of transgenderism you could imagine. It was all on there. And they had all these hotlines you could call and they'd encourage it. They were encouraging kids to be transgender across the state of Texas. Well, as soon as I went live with that video, Abbott got me close to the exceptionalism of America that believed in capitalism, that believed in the free market. The governor of Texas appoints the board of regents for every university and college in this state. And this state. Imagine if we could stop the brainwashing of our teachers. They're getting certified by all these socialists, and then they go right downstream and they teach it in the high schools and the junior highs. We can stop. The governor has the power to stop that. As governor, I'm putting prayer back in the schools. Not just the schools, but the classrooms. This is easy. If you've got courage. I don't even know if we're going to show up for the lawsuit. I want to lose that. I want Biden to come down and put the prayer police in every ISD in the state of Texas. That's a joke. I'm not worried about this in any lawsuit. I'm worried about Texas and what's best for Texans. I'm not worried about the federal government. So anyway, that's a long-winded answer to your question. The medical board will not be doing that. I've got doctors coming from all over the state because they have nowhere else to turn. I'm not in office, I'm just a candidate. I've got doctors calling me from East Texas, from West Texas. I've got them calling me from Dallas. I've got people, pharmacists calling me. I mean, everybody, the whole state's in a state of flux because of the tyranny that's being imposed with no leadership to stop it. So the answer your question. I'm sorry that long-winded answer.
Thank you. Any other question?
I don't need a microphone.
All right, go for it.
So, you talked about phasing out property taxes.
Yep.
In my 32 years of being in the front lines of politics, we hear people talking about phasing out property taxes. But nobody has a clear-cut plan to make up for that vacuum in revenue without taxing us a different way.
Yes,
what makes your plan different than those that we've heard over the last few years?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. I've been working on it for years. I'm using some guys that work at Texas Public Policy Foundation. We've got it spreadsheets, lots of spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, and 2 feet thick. But this is very doable. I know it doesn't sound doable. There's a lot of paths to get there. But my plan is simple. We're going to replace the money that property taxes bringing in with money that the state of Texas brings in. Our revenues in the state of Texas go up at about 8% a year. We've got a lot of revenue streams. Sales tax, oil and gas tax, hotel, motel tax, liquor tax, other revenue streams. They go up at about 8% annually. We're taking 90% of that revenue growth, and we're buying down property tax with it. My plan will take 8 years. We thought it would be 10, but we think we can get it done in 8. 8 years with the income coming in the way it is with the state. Also, I'm going to move some of it over to sales tax. So sales tax will go up, but not that much. It'll go up over time. Over 8 years, sales tax goes up, property tax goes down. And then we can buy it all off. Simple as that. And then you'll get a chance to vote on it. I'm not talking about changing the basis of sales tax. You're going to get a chance to vote on it because I'm going to make sure it's a constitutional amendment is my goal. Even if it isn't a constitutional amendment, I'm going to draft the legislation so everyone in Texas can vote on it. This is too important. I want you to weigh in on the final plan that gets out of the building. And so it's very doable. We're never going to have an income tax, and we're going to keep local political governments fully funded. Let me just explain that to you. Say, I don't know, Corpus is getting $8 million in a year. I know they get a lot more than that. But so over 8 years, next year they get 7. State sends them $1 million. Next year they get 6. State sends them 2. Simplicity. I'm talking about. Until the state will just keep sending them money until they replace all the revenue. We're not talking about changing the funding formulas in the school districts. That's the easiest one to do, but the legislature says all that. So if your school district's getting 80 million in, whatever, next year they're gonna get 70 million in, the state's another, if they're getting 80 million for property tax. Right now, the state of Texas pays 54% of all the school funding. So the other 46% that the property tax makes up, the state will make up. So the state school districts always complain they never have enough money. The school districts never have enough money, no matter what it is, and they won't tell you how much they really need. But this is beside the point. But the point is, they complain about the state not paying their share. The state's going to pay 100% of it under my plan. So, you know, that's how we're going to get her done. That's our plan in general. And it really is. I know it sounds like political rhetoric, but it's not.
No, this is similar to what Alaska do.
Pardon me?
It's similar to what Alaska is.
Is that what they did in Alaska? I'm not familiar, I need to look that up. Here's the thing about property tax, I'll set the table real quick, is that you never own anything in Texas. That's right. You never own any of your own property. Your home, your ranch, your farm, your land, your house, you never own your house. The government owns it. All you do is rent it from them. In the metropolitan areas, it's a third to half the mortgage is your taxes. And you don't even know what the rent's going to be. It just goes up and up every year. And so this is a terrible way to fund government. There's a lot of ideas out there. VAT taxes, value-added taxes, fair taxes. There's a lot of ways we can replace our reliance. Let me tell you the Huffines administration, first up. Our paradigm of how we've operated in the past does not dictate our future. The motto of my company is seeing beyond the obvious. I'm taking that down to Austin. And we're going to operate completely different. This is not just about the money you're going to save, which is tremendous. Just imagine what you could do with all that money. Half is paid by businesses and half is paid by residents. This is going to generate so much wealth we can't even figure it. We quit calculating at about $80 to $100 billion overnight net wealth creation for Texas. And so, because just keep that in mind. The businesses now will be freed up to hire 14 members to create research and development. There's no telling what's going to come in Texas. But this is also about your economic liberty. This is fundamental to who we are as Americans and as Texans. That you can actually own your own home. You can actually own your own land. That no more are you going to be the serf to the government. The government is your landlord. No more are you going to be the serf to the king. It's over. This is about good. So we can do better than that. It's going to be a new day.
Mr. Huffines, yes, you said raise sales tax. Right now, sales tax here in Corpus is 8.25%. What is your proposing to raise sales tax to?
It's going to really depend on the final plan that gets out. And right now, the numbers we run, we're not changing the base. So there's no sales tax on food or medicine, and cars will stay the same. But it really just depends on what that number is and how the economy's doing at the time. But it's still going to be very doable. If you don't like that, don't vote for it. I personally think the consumption tax and sales tax is a fair tax. And now people say, what about people that rent? They'll pay property tax. It really affects everybody. Property taxes. You can buy your first home. Just think if you can qualify for a home now in most cities because it's a third to half your mortgage. So now you got an opportunity to go buy a home. And we figured our numbers are showing that about $175 a month in apartment rent average is attributed to property tax. So in the theoretical free market, that just goes away. That's a long way.
All right, it's almost 9 o'clock. We'll do 2 more quick questions.
Quick answers. Sorry, quick answers. Ask me something that's yes or no.
I've got a really straightforward, simple one for you.
Okay.
As governor, would you commit to when legislation is proposed in the form of ballot initiative that is written where an 8th grade person could actually read the proposition and understand it and lose the legal mumbo jumbo? It really frustrates a lot of everyday Texans.
Yes. I will do what I can to make sure that happens. That wording is set by the legislators. they actually do that wording. And if it's a constitutional amendment, it's the one thing the governor doesn't get to veto. So